that is a bit tasty. Hey guys, Anton the Tech Chap, and this is the new Honor 200 Pro. And I really like this phone, not just for the specs and the design, the camera and all that good stuff that I'll walk you through, but also the price, which has just been confirmed to me, like literally 5 minutes before I started shooting this video, which was very helpful. So thank you to Honor for sending this out for me to have a little play with and also partnering with me on this video. So this is not a review, but I just want to give you a bit of a walkthrough and tell you what you're going to get with the 200 Pro, which includes being one of the very first phones to use this new Snapdragon 8S Gen 3 chip. We also get great battery life, fast charging, wireless charging, a lovely triple camera setup, which takes some of the nicest portrait shots I've seen from a phone, thanks to their partnership with the Harcourt Photography Studio and an all-new AI portrait engine, although more on that in a second. A super bright and very fast screen, and it's all wrapped in this very pretty design. We've got this kind of almost rivery flowing aesthetic to it. We've got a sort of dual texture, contrasting tone there, this oval camera module. It's quite eye-catching. It comes in 3 different colors, a moonlight white, a black, and this very tasty ocean cyan. And Honor tell me they've gone for a more natural and more organic design, which I can definitely see here. I just wish the UK government didn't force companies to put this stuff on the phone. Nothing like a wheelie bin with an X through it to complete the design. But that's not Honor's fault, that comes on everything. Anyway, we're getting IP65 water and dust resistance, so it will survive a quick dunk. It's 8.2mm thick and weighs 199 grams. And with these rounded corners and the very curvy screen, or as Honor calls it, the quad curved floating display, it really does look good and feels comfortable to hold, if a bit slippery. Although I do know not everyone is a fan of a curved screen. What do you think? Either way though, despite the slim profile, this does support wireless charging, which is never guaranteed. No headphone jack or microSD card slot here, but we do have stereo speakers, although I have noticed the bottom firing speaker is a fair bit louder than the top. And if you're wondering what this second little lens up here is for and why we have this more of a pill-shaped cutout, that is for the IR sensors, which gives you much faster and more reliable low-light face unlocking. Now for me, there's a few ways Honor phones stand out. This is the flagship Magic 6 Pro, which I made a video on a few weeks ago, an absolutely terrific phone. This is the 200 Pro, of course. And one of the standouts of Honor phones is always the display, and the 200 Pro is no different. Usual stuff to start with, 6.78 inches, 120Hz, AMOLED, very nice, but this also can peak at 4,000 nits of brightness. Now that is on a 1% window, they call it like a 1% APL, so it's not full screen, 4,000 nits, but it does mean small highlights can really pop on the screen, especially if watching HDR movies and videos or scrolling through your photo gallery. And it wouldn't be an Honor phone without a whole bunch of eye protection features built in. So we've got this Oasis eye protection area under the eye care, which includes the circadian night display. So that's basically going to adjust the screen color temperature based on the ambient light around you. We've also got dynamic dimming, and you'll see down here 3,840 Hz of PWM dimming. That's pulse width modulation. And there is this little guide down here that kind of shows you, but I think we can do better than that, although I will need to change the shutter speed of my camera. And you can see these tiny black bars scrolling down very quickly. That's basically the screen's pixels turning on and off very fast at a specific frequency to essentially change the brightness or the perceived brightness. And the higher the frequency, the less eye strain you get, particularly at lower brightnesses. And for context, here's the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and while this strobing, this pulsing isn't visible to the naked eye, and I have had to whack up my camera shutter speed, it does go to show the difference. And I also appreciate we have this ebook mode, which essentially puts it into monochrome, and that combined with a warmer tone that you'd get if I drop the lights in here, it's a very comfortable screen to use. Alright, let me open the specs page, and you can see we've got 12 gigs of RAM, 512 storage, and that is the only SKU that's going to be coming here in the UK, and we have this Snapdragon 8S Gen 3. Now this is a new chip, this is one of the first phones to use it, and what makes it really interesting is it's basically a less powerful version of the full-fat 8 Gen 3 flagship chip. And in Geekbench 6 and also 3D Mark, you can see the 8S is noticeably less powerful. However, not only does it make the phone a whole lot cheaper because it costs Honor less to buy the chip from Qualcomm, but it also uses less power, it runs cooler, and you can get some pretty good sustained performance. There's less throttling here. And together with the vapor chamber cooler we have in the Honor 200 Pro, every game I threw at this, maxed out settings, it performed flawlessly. And you can also swipe in from the top left here to bring up the game menu and either switch between balanced or game mode. And the truth is, obviously it's nice to have the best of the best chip, but sometimes that's not always the best value for money, and most of us just don't utilize all the performance you get from that flagship 8 Gen 3. I think it's actually been a pretty smart choice. They've also squeezed in a very healthy 5200 mAh battery in here, which together with the less power-hungry chip means we're getting some really good battery life. And it supports up to their 100-watt Honor supercharger, which will get you from dead to 100% in just 41 minutes. And we also get wireless charging, which you can use on any wireless pad, although for the full 66 watts, you'll need to use one of their chargers. And you can top up other devices via the reverse charging. Very nice. Okay, let's talk about this camera. And a couple of things right off the bat. I am walking pretty briskly on some cobbled streets. I've got wind blowing at me, sun hitting my face. Tell me how you think this looks in terms of the video quality, the microphone, stabilization. So I was just looking at some new trees to plant in my garden. Beautiful place, and then I just look down. And there's this little guy. Hello. What's your name? What do you think of the Honor 200 Pro? So Honor are calling the 200 Pro the Portrait Master, and I can kind of see why. From a hardware perspective, we have 3 lenses. We have a 50 megapixel main or wide lens, a 12 megapixel ultra wide, which also doubles as a macro, a 50 megapixel telephoto with a 2.5 times optical zoom, and a whopping 50 megapixel portrait selfie camera. So high-end, if not quite flagship camera hardware, but for the price, very good. But that's only half the story, as Honor have developed their own AI portrait engine. Now this has been co-created and inspired by Studio Harcourt, which is a very famous Paris-based photography studio. And they worked together to create this AI portrait engine with the aim, they tell me, of unlocking studio-level photography. Although of course lighting, composition, and your own skills are still pretty important, but the AI portrait engine has been trained on over 1,000 scenarios and millions of datasets to optimize the light and the shadows, the bokeh. It can highlight details in faces, even pick out individual hair strands, and specifically in portrait mode, if you tap on this Harcourt logo, you have 3 of their custom color profiles. So you can get some really nice characterful shots. So definitely a big focus on the portrait photography, but across the board, I've actually been pretty impressed by this camera, particularly the dynamic range, the ability for this to capture in tricky light, whether you have really bright highlights and deep shadows or, a high contrast scene. The 1/3" sensor, the f1.9 aperture, and all that processing and AI behind the scenes, it all adds up to be a really nice camera system. And of course, it wouldn't be an Honor phone without their AI motion sensing capture, which once again has resulted in me jumping around like a complete. And while it doesn't always capture the shot I'd intended, the low shutter lag and automatic capture when it detects motion means you get some impressively sharp and in-focus action shots. And then when you've taken all your photos, the 200 Pro also packs in some handy AI features, including Instant Movie, so you can pick up to 30 photos and videos to create a quick montage, and it will use AI to intelligently kind of see what is the most interesting moment of a clip. We also have Memories, which you'll find here in the gallery, and it turns the phone into a nice little digital photo frame. And outside of the camera department, we have Honor's Magic Portal. This is where you can drag text or images to the edge of your screen and then chuck it into a related app, like taking an address and putting it into Google Maps, which can save you a bit of time, although you do have to choose the apps yourself and you can only have 5. So, how much? Well, I can confirm in the UK, the Honor 200 Pro will set you back £699.99, so 700 quid basically. And there are some actually quite good launch deals, including a free Harman Kardon speaker. Although if this does stretch your budget just a little bit too much, then they are also launching a regular Honor 200, which coincidentally is £200 less than this at £499.99, so £500. So that's definitely worth considering, and I will leave links to both in the description below if you want to check those out. If you've got any questions at all about the 200 Pro, then drop a comment below. Let me know what you think of this. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, then a cheeky little like and subscribe would be lovely, and I'll see you next time right here on the Tech Chat.